Hi everyone, welcome to the second video of the Scalp Hair Masterclass. In this video, we're going to be making our own texture for the body of our hair, so like the hair texture itself. I'm actually recording this video after the third one, so you'll notice like I use the hair for the third video to use as an example. To participate in this, to make your own hair texture, all you need is a photo editing software. Photoshop is the best. If you don't have access to Photoshop, you could just use Photopea or Photopea. It's a website. It's like the online version of Photoshop. However, if you already have a photo editing software that you use to texture or to draw and you're used to it, you can use that. There's some important tools that you have to have. You have to have blurring in your software or app. You have to have blurring, you have to have a smudge tool, you have to have custom brushes. So you can't just use like Paint, Microsoft Paint, you can't use that, obviously. If you don't have a hairbrush, I recommend you get some. Like any hairbrush will probably be good because that's just to make the tippy top part of the hair. So any hairbrush should be okay. You can get hairbrushes. If you use Ibis Paint or Clip Studio Paint, you can get a lot of like realistic hairbrushes for free. You also need something obviously that has layers and blend modes, which is like most software. Most software has layers and blend modes, so I think you'd be fine on that. For the size of the image that we're going to be making, it has to be either 1024 by 1024 or 2048 by 2048, which is a new thing. Like they just started doing 2K textures. I don't even know if you can use it for hair, but you could always upload them into Studio. That doesn't change anything. Like worst case scenario, Roblox will just downscale it to 1024. I'm gonna be creating one in 2048 just for this video. I make sure my PPI is set to 300, and yeah. I'm gonna make this quick, okay? Over here I have the 6 most common skin tones for Roblox scalp hairs, and I'll leave this image in the description. I'm gonna give this texture away to my Ko-fi subscribers, so if you're subscribed to me on Ko-fi, you can just have the texture in the Photoshop file. But these are all the skin tones. I know some people use a white skin tone, but I'm not about that life. Okay, I'm gonna be using this skin tone because that's my Roblox Avatar skin tone, and it makes it easier to test. You should have your layers here, and on Photoshop you can just add a new fill layer, but if you're not using Photoshop, you can just make a new layer and use the paint bucket tool to fill it in like so. And that's gonna be for our skin tone. I'll create a new layer again. I'm going to fill it with black, filled with black like so, and basically what we're gonna do is draw our texture in this like square format, and then we're gonna scale it down. And when we scale it, we're gonna squish it so it looks like hair. The first thing we're gonna do, and this is like really important, like make sure you have a good editing software because you need the motion blur tool. Most software has it, but some software doesn't. I think Photopea has it, so you should be good if you're using Photopea. Get your brush tool, set it to like a random small size, or set to 20, and make the color white. And you're gonna just make zigzags like this. Like this. You're gonna change the color to something more gray, and you're gonna make more zigzags. Whoa! I did not mean to do that. Then you're gonna make the color something even more gray and make more lines, zigzags, whatever. You can make it as dense as you want, but like the density of like the lines, like the amount of lines, will change how your texture looks. I think this is good for now. I'm just going to now make sure you're using layers, by the way. I'm going to have this, and I'm going to click filter, I'm going to click blur, and I'm going to click motion blur. Make sure your motion blur is set to 90 degrees and the distance is set to 2000 pixels. It usually doesn't look like this. I don't know what happened to my Photoshop. But this works. There's nothing wrong with it looking like this, but I'm just saying. Okay, now we have this thing, and if you can see where I'm going with this, this is gonna be our individual hair strands, and it's like the illusion of hair. So I'm gonna go into free transform, or Control T for free transform, and I'm gonna scale it so it's at the middle of this black line. I'm gonna duplicate, or Control J, and I'm gonna move it over here. When I move it, I'm gonna click OK, and then I'm gonna merge it down so it merges with that layer that we just duplicated, and now everything's on one layer. This is key, because if you have too many layers and you're trying to edit the texture later, it's gonna be really annoying. So I'm just gonna come here, and I think it's fine. I'm gonna lower the opacity to something like this. As you can see, it's starting to look more like a hair texture. I think I'm gonna like do the thing again and stretch it, squish it halfway, duplicate it, and move it to the other side. And this time actually I'm going to flip horizontally, edit, transform, flip horizontal. So now we can see we have those white lines on both sides. I'm going to merge down to make sure they are one layer. Yeah, right down. Be careful when you merge, because it does apply your opacity. So if you made it too low the first time, you can't turn it back up. But I think this is an okay opacity, so I don't really care that much. Anyway, what we're gonna do is we're going to make one highlight, and we're gonna do it like this. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can make two. You know what? I'll do two because I like variation. I'm gonna make two highlights. I'm gonna make them like this. And the point of this highlight is because they're highlights. The point of me making two is because I don't want it to be super repetitive. I just drew like this wavy line. You can make your highlights straight if that is what you prefer, but I drew it wavy because I like it. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. You need to make sure your software has Gaussian blur, but most software already has Gaussian blur, so I don't think it matters that much. You probably already have it. Turn it up till it's something like this. Like something really like, maybe like 85, and press OK. I'm gonna do some slight motion blur. You don't need to do this, to be fair. But I'm gonna turn the distance down. I just wanted it to spread out more vertically. Okay, that's good. And that's the first layer of highlight. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit. And actually, sometimes I have it set to soft light if I don't want like super. You can do this and then just duplicate it, so you have one that's set to soft light and one that's just like regular, normal, and lower the opacity of that one. So this is what it looks like, and yeah, it looks fine, I guess. I'm gonna add a new layer. I'm gonna reduce my brush size to like half of the last one, and then I'm gonna draw some more lines. And this is like the inner highlight, and I guess it just depends on how you like your highlights. The amount that you may do could be different from mine. It doesn't really matter. And that's how you do this highlight. And I just save this. I reduce the opacity. Oh, I use Gaussian blur. I didn't even mention. I use Gaussian blur for everything, not the regular box blur. You can stop here if you want, but if you want another highlight, just create another highlight. Reduce the brush size to something way smaller, and I'll just make a straight line, to be honest. Make a straight line. Sometimes I like to use the liquify tool. I mean, not the liquify tool, just the smudge tool. Well, not smudge tool, okay. Sometimes I like to use the smudge tool to create like variation in the lines. Okay, not like this though, because this is super laggy. And like all things good, if you take your time on it, it looks better. I'm just doing this because I can. It's for a tutorial, so I'm not too bothered. If you don't want to do this with your highlights, it's completely fine. You don't have to. If you like straight highlights, you can do that instead. If you want it to be wavier than this, because I know some scalp hair is wavier looking, or if you want to do like a crimp texture, you will have to probably edit it a little bit. And I'll probably make a subscriber only tutorial for crimp textures, but it's literally just the wave filter. It's just the wave filter, but set like really small, so you can see some variation, but not a lot of variation. And I don't really like it because it makes the texture not seamless. If you've ever made a curly texture, the wave filter messes you up real bad. Gaussian blur, a little bit of Gaussian blur, not as much as the last ones. Like this, basically. And this is how you make your texture. If you want to, go back in and use the smudge tool on the textures behind one, like the first textures we created, basically. Not my computer lagging. That's basically all that is for that part. And what we're going to do now is we're going to grab everything except the skin layer, hit Ctrl T, and scale it to take up as much like texture space as you want your textures to take. So I would go for something like this, and then if you don't like it, you just edit it accordingly. And as you can see, the texture is like it's got a lot of lines. You can also just Ctrl T and scale this so it has like less lines, and you can of course reduce the opacity like this. Another thing is that you have to add a clipping mask, so select all of this and create clipping mask, so everything basically clips to the black, so it doesn't matter where you move it, everything stays within the black. I think maybe rename, I'll call this lines. Oh, I can't spell. Okay, lines. I'll call this hair color, because I will show you how to change the hair color too. I'll call this highlight. Highlight SL for soft light. Highlight 1. Highlight 2. I can't. Oh my gosh. Okay. Mini highlight. Okay, pause. I spent like 30 minutes trying to like separate the highlights to individual layers as a group, and I was unsuccessful, which is really weird that they don't let you do that, because you can definitely do that in like Clip Studio Paint. So I'm surprised Photoshop doesn't let you do that. So I end up actually deleting the bottom layer, and I just end up duplicating the first layer. So that's what happened. I've been trying to figure it out for like the last 15 minutes, and unfortunately I can't figure it out. So all I gotta say is that you're gonna have and to be fair, it's not a big deal, but you're basically gonna have to delete one of the highlights so we can just copy and paste one highlight. What I was trying to do is move these two closer together, but there's no way to move all the layers together without doing it manually. If you can do it manually, good for you. But I'm gonna just delete the second highlight like this, and I'm going to take these highlights, Control C and Control V to paste them, move them closer together. Like this is what I was gonna do. Create a clipping mask like so, and I'm gonna rinse and repeat, but this time I'm gonna select all the new highlights, C, V, so it pastes 2 sets of highlights. Yep, and I'm going to do it again. Control C, Control V. Yeah, basically. And now I have 6 sets of highlights. I'm just gonna save that. To make this thing look better, I'm low-key gonna apply some more Gaussian blur. So I'm gonna take, first of all, I'm gonna put everything under a clipping mask. Anyway, I'm going to apply like basically anything that's highlight 1. You because there's like a ton of highlight 1s. Anything that's highlight 1, I'm gonna like blur it a little bit. Just so it's like slightly less compact. We have that much blur. And anything that's highlight 1, I'll just click it, and I can do this in Photoshop. I can click the last filter I used. If not, you're gonna have to do it manually. But just click filter Gaussian blur on anything that's highlight 1. There's probably a better way to do this, but I'm not the Photoshop person. Like I'm not good at Photoshop. Filter Gaussian blur, and that's all I guess. You can save your texture and test it out in Blender to see what it looks like. And I just have this hair that I will be making in the next episode. And you can actually upload PSDs to Photoshop, so like they do the thing automatically. And go to material when you want to add your texture, and go find the texture that you just made. And this is what mine looks like, and it's kind of buns. I mean, if you like it, then yeah. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tone down the highlights because it's just too white for me. You can see my old texture. I like toned down highlights. If you like lighter highlights, it might be good enough for you. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all the mini highlights. I'm going to change them all to soft light. So anything that's mini highlight, I misspelled that, but anything that's mini highlight, I'm gonna change it all to soft light. And at this part, you can take the initiative and just do whatever you think looks aesthetically pleasing. If you like the highlights that are like super white, you can make those. If you don't and you are like me, if it's still too bright for you, I would recommend turning down highlight 1 to a lower opacity. So I'm just gonna lower all the highlight 1s. Highlight 1, highlight 1, highlight 1. Make them all 25. And that's what that looks like. If you save it, you can directly view the changes in Blender when you open the hair texture. So that's a good thing that we're using the PSD. Obviously it's not gonna look the way I want it to right now, because this hair texture is not for this hair. If you're still not like satisfied with the way the hair textures look, like size wise, or if you want to use more textures for curls or crimps or whatever, select everything, hit Ctrl T, and just scale it like that, and kind of move this down because you don't want it touching the roots. So this is like good. And you can grab like a couple of these, so mini highlight to highlight SL. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and you can get these in position, and you could do that. Yeah. Create clipping mask so it clips to the texture. I'm just gonna move everything because I think it's slightly. Okay, yeah. This is fine. Like, this is, yeah. I still personally don't like how the mini highlight is like super bright, but so I'm gonna select everything. I'm just gonna turn it down. Mini highlight, mini highlight, mini highlight, mini highlight, mini highlight. I think that's all. Turn it down. Am I turned down? Yeah. I also think highlight 2 needs to be turned down. Height 2, height 2, height 2. Highlight 2, highlight 2. Height 2, highlight 2. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's way better. Highlight 2 is like making the hair texture chopped. Save. Go back to Blender and reopen the texture again. And in my opinion, I think this looks better, but if you don't like this kind of texture, then to each their own. Adjust it to whatever you like. I think maybe apply a little bit of blur on the lines, and not Gaussian blur, the regular blur. Box blur, but only a little bit, because otherwise it loses. Because this is what it looks like without. Whoops, I can't even show it. Oh my gosh. It has like a weird like compression thing, and this looks like with it looks smoother and, well, blurrier. So if I open it in Blender now, so this is before, it's kind of sharp. If I open it, it's after, it's like more blurred out, it's more smoothed out. I like that personally. Whoop. I don't know what I just did. Okay. I like that personally, but if you don't, then I get it. What else do I have to say? Oh, of course, how could I forget? The top of the hair. Get yourself any kind of hairbrush. If you don't have a hairbrush pack, I can leave one for you to use for Photoshop. I don't have any for any others, so you're on your own with that. But I have this brush called Hair Ends, and I also have a brush called Lace Plucker. I don't know where that is, but you're gonna use it as a smudge tool brush, not just like a regular paintbrush, and we're gonna actually smudge the black away. I'll just use the Hair Ends brush, and I'll use it like to smudge it, and it's not gonna work because there's no empty space, so we have to erase a little bit. I'm gonna use the select tool to just delete a little bit, delete like that, and the smudge tool to smudge it. It's better if you have a drawing pen. I'm just gonna get mine. Now that I have my smudge, now that I have my drawing tablet, you can do this with a drawing tablet. It's just better with a drawing tablet because you're more precise. I'm just gonna create these like downward strokes, and it's gonna look a little chopped, but it's fine. Hold up. I'm just gonna come back here. I'm gonna rotate the brush a little bit and reduce the size, and this time I'm gonna stroke upwards like that. And you want to try as best as you can to like make sure the texture is even right now because we're still gonna fix it in a bit, but the more even it is right now, the better and easier to fix it'll be later. So make sure it's like all the hair strands are like at the same level. Anyway, okay, so when you make that like this hair ends thing, you're gonna go back into your brush and you're gonna go into soft round, the soft pen, and you're gonna kind of like add the black back in to make it like even, if that makes sense. So like everything's like on the same level, right? Select this starting point and hold down shift and just draw, and it will draw a straight line. So like this is what it would look like. It would look like that, right? But obviously we're doing it here so you can't see it. And I'm gonna do the same thing with my eraser tool, and I'm just gonna erase a little bit of the top part like this. That's way more than a little bit. Depending on how plucked you like it to be, I'm gonna move this down. You can edit the texture. So Control T, because I like mine not looking stubby, and I'm gonna just stretch it down. Oh, whoops. And it creates like a more stretched effect. So like I said, you can do that. Actually, you don't have to do that. You can just click this marquee, I don't know. Click this and select this part, and then go back to your selection and click Control T and do that, depending on how plucked you like it looking. So that's one way to do it. Control S, preview the texture. And this is super plucked. In fact, it's too plucked. So I'm gonna just go back into Photoshop and undo. So we just have that, and I'm gonna make it only a little bit taller. And I'm actually also gonna move this down. So we get a decent amount of space like that. Save it, go back to Blender, open the image again, and that's what it looks like. If I edit my UVs, I can make it not look so harsh, but I don't want to edit it because I'm going to use a different texture anyway for this scalp hair. To reduce the harshness, however, we can erase a little bit of the texture, and we're gonna set the opacity to something really like low. Set the opacity to something like 15 probably. Increase your brush, and you're gonna like lightly tap it like that, and it creates like a realistic hair effect. So that's what we're gonna do. If you save it and you open it in Blender, it creates that really cool skin effect. And depending on your UVs, like it's looking like she's balding a little bit here because like the UVs are made for a different hair. Like this is the texture I just made, and this is the default texture that I use. So the UVs will be different depending on the hair texture. But I don't think this is like too bad. If you want anything differently, you can edit it so it's different. I'm actually going to take this and scale it up a little bit like this. scale it down a little bit like this. Command D. I'm just gonna move the whole layer up because remember I extended it at the bottom that first time, so I'm just gonna move this whole black layer up. And by the way, when I edit this, I'm not editing the lines or the highlights or anything. I'm only editing that black layer with the hair color. And make sure the bottom is covered too, and you're basically good. That's how I make a hair texture. If you want to change the color of your texture, there's a really quick way to do it. Just go to Image, Adjustments, Gradient Map, and you can change the color really quickly. So if I wanted to have I don't know, red hair, there's a red here actually, but I'll click black and I'll change it to like this color, and as you can see it applies accordingly. I click the white and I change it to something like this probably, and then I kind of move it. Oh, that was an accident. Okay. And depending on the hair color you want, you edit it accordingly, like I said. For the highlights, you do have to do them manually. You can kind of rinse and repeat the process, kind of, but for the highlights you have to do them manually. Also, something I forgot to say is that you should have the lines layer on linear light. I don't know how I forgot to say that. It should be on linear light. It just makes the hair changing color like so much easier, and it looks kind of better in my opinion. Cause this is normal. That's how normal looks, and this is how linear light looks. Oh, oops. Linear light, normal. Linear light. It adds more depth, and also when you change the hair color using gradient mapping, which you should have in your software, it just makes it look like it makes the texture look easier to change. Let me change this to something better, like blonde. Like, look how easy it was to make that blonde. The linear light contributes to it, but obviously this gradient mapping thing, you can do it for all the highlights. You shouldn't have to do it for all the highlights. You should only have to do it for mini highlight. Not mini highlight. Height 2. You should only have to do it for height 2, maybe mini highlight. And the reason is that with height 2, there are no blend modes applied. So if you want, you can apply blend mode to height 2, so you don't have to change the color every time. If I just do example really quickly, gradient map, I'm gonna set it to something brown. Make it brown like that. I'm gonna undo this, but highlight SL takes the color because it's soft light, but height 2 doesn't. I can change the color, the blend mode of height 2 to like overlay, and overlay usually works fine. For textures, you will have to edit with like stuff like brown and stuff. When it comes to the color brown, it's like kind of hard to get right, but when it comes to blonde, it's not hard. It comes quick. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for the tutorial.